Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Dies to Removal, the Magic the Gathering podcast, where Pleasant Kenobi and myself talk about all things Magic the Gathering. This week we had a really special plan, which was we wanted to take a break from MTG controversy, and we were just going to talk about our own passion, which is Legacy. We had planned out this really fun, episode encouraging people to play Legacy, telling them how to do so affordably, talking about our favorite decks, talking about the meta, just all things Legacy. And then GP New Jersey happened, and we just had to address what happened here. Vince, let's just get right down to it, because this is kind of almost like a not quite a breaking episode where it's like we're breaking news, but it's very close to it as a podcast can be. GP New Jersey, I posted a picture of the main event, Limited, of all things, which Limited is not typically the most popular GP format, and yet GP New Jersey sold out. It was packed. Side events, crowded, free play area with casuals, jam-packed. A huge number of personalities and artists here. So by all events, this Magic Fest, this GP, was a smashing success. It is the first one coming off of the release of Ravnica Allegiance. People, myself included, are describing this as the best standard environment for draft, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but nonetheless, everyone is saying this is great fun to draft, obviously. The GP main event sold out. Epic, and yet what did we see in terms of coverage?
Well, we saw absolutely nothing, and that was kind of expected. People were aware of this. There was a coverage schedule that Wizards have released. They'd sort of like quietly put up that showed that we'd have some coverage for Cleveland that's coming up in a month or so's time. So no one was expecting coverage, and everyone's surprised and confused as to why, because there's been no announcement as to why.
And isn't that just a little, before we even get into the controversy, isn't that a little weird, because the new set has just dropped, and this is Limited, which, I mean, Wizards of the Coast loves Limited. You buy your packs, you play in the event, and then you're done. And if you want to do it again, you have to buy new packs. So this is Wizards of the Coast.
How do you advertise your new set more than showing the best players in the world, or a room full of 1,000 players all playing with the new packs, right? That should sell boosters in theory. So it's quite a good advertisement in that sense.
So, yeah.
The lack of coverage is very bizarre. If you think about, there's some bizarrities to, I guess, give context that we can give here. Is that we're not just starting a new season. We've had 2 Magic Fests, or 3 Magic Fests so far. 2, 3. Prague was a Magic Fest, and we had what was the last American one before that? There's another one, wasn't there? Either way, this isn't the beginning of the Magic Fest season, and coverage is gone. We had coverage at Prague. I was chatting to the coverage team at Prague.
Right.
So we had coverage literally 2-3 weeks ago, and then suddenly we get to New Jersey and we're just radio silence from Wizards and no coverage. And people are wondering why, because people want to find out what their friends are doing. People want to see if the pros are doing well. People want to just watch Magic, because people weirdly do like to watch Magic, as the SCG tour proves.
Hey, so if people like to watch golf, then it's not so weird that people like to watch Magic. I mean,
I'm glad people like to watch Magic. My content's primarily gameplay, so if people stop watching Magic, I'm in trouble.
Oh, do you make content? Gee, we're a minute and a half in, Vince. My goodness. My goodness.
Well, you didn't introduce me as a content creator. I just want to make sure that everyone at home knows.
Right.
YouTube.com/Pleasant Kenobi. So the lack of content was bizarre.
And especially, again, that this is launch weekend. I mean, this is launch weekend for the new set. You would think that this would be the GP that they really want to hype up and amp up. So there's no coverage. But this happens from time to time. I don't know. I'm not a GP historian. I'd need to look back and see, has there ever been a launch weekend with no coverage before? But even so, no one is particularly rattled by this until a certain tweet happened. And this was, why don't you go ahead? You have it on your screen. I'm going to superimpose this. This is what the tweet that started the whole thing.
Yes, so a gentleman called Roman Fusco, I think he's written for Hipsters of the Coast in the past, tweeted just asking, is there text coverage or standings available for GP New Jersey? The reply from the official Magic Pro Tour account was, as we begin to focus on Mythic Championships and Magic Pro League, we're adjusting our coverage for tournaments and Magic Fests. That's the first reply. Then a second
Okay.
subtweet says, for New Jersey forward, we'll be posting critical end of tournament information on Sunday evening instead of round by round postings here and on our site. Fans can still expect to see top 8 deck lists and tournament results on Sunday evenings. So, quite literally, at face value, it is just telling us that they're reducing and removing text coverage. That's the first upfront.
Stop. Why did they? He didn't ask that. All he asked was, "Hey, is there some info posted yet that I'm interested in?" Which is a very reasonable, probably benign question.
So, would you have preferred if they just said no? Or do you like the fact they were forthcoming with some context?
Well, it's a little, listen, as the kids say, this might have been a little TMI, because they seem to be immediately jumping in with, yeah, we're giving you guys a lot less in this reply tweet, whereas they could have said, this information is going to be coming about the event. We are actually, first of all, I don't understand why they didn't just reply in answering his question. The information that's going to be posted is X, Y, and Z available at this
Sunday.
time,
Yep.
and say, that's it. He wasn't like, hey, why isn't there? This wasn't like
the bit we have to stress, I guess, is that there had been no other announcement regards to this at all at any other point. And people have been talking a little bit on Twitter, and I've spoken to people who are like, well, it's weird that Wizards have been so cagey about details around qualification to the Mythic Championships and coverage and other things that this time last year we knew about moving into 2018. 2019.
Sure.
So there's been no announcement up to this point, and then suddenly, yeah, like you said, there was a bombardment of information in response to a random tweet.
Right.
It wasn't like, and I'm not to rain on Roman's parade, but it wasn't like Saffron Olive or someone with huge clout asking this question. They felt they needed a moment to publicly address it. They just randomly replied to one particular tweet. And if you look at the replies and mentions, they don't reply to that many tweets anyway. So it's really weird that they chose this instance to do that. But I respect some information,
right?
Because as we're going to go on, and I'm going to say several times probably throughout this podcast, the bit that annoys me the most is just hearing nothing or not knowing what's going on. Right. So I respect them giving us some info.
Okay, so
unfortunately, that info was potentially a bitter pill for some people, myself included.
Why? So yes, go on. Please go on now.
So basically, they're removing paper coverage for certainty. That is completely clear from this, and has been clarified by Blake since in an interview with Hipsters of the Coast, which we'll talk about a bit more in a moment. They used to give us like round by round pairings and updates on what's going on over the course of the weekend. That's just going. So whoever had that desk in the Wizards office that did that for social media, that intern has got his graduate job now and has left, or something like that, and they're not replacing it because they don't see any value in it, I guess is the obvious reason. I mean, that's my own conjecture, that's not what they've said, but there's obviously no value in that. But people think there is a value. People like to know what's going on with coverage, with competitive play. People want to know when their friends are doing well. Kirsty, a judge from Scotland who posted a blog about this, said that in Scotland they're a very close-knit community, and they get very excited when they see their pros doing well, or let's say pros, they're players that are closest to being the pros like America has. And now they have no way of really tracking that apart from like directly speaking to the people that. So yeah, it starts to hinder the smaller communities keeping in touch or knowing what's happened to their players. So yeah, some people are unhappy about the text coverage going.
Part of the appeal, and I did read that article that you referenced. I'll link it in the video description. I thought it was very well written, and I liked what she had to say, especially because I've always felt, listen, I'm championing that we're having a Pauper PTQ at Magic Fest Los Angeles in about a month, and why am I championing that? Because that's my cause, is I like the format and I want to get attention to it, and so I'm beating the drum on that. And as you said, Scotland, they don't have as many competitive players, and so they like to beat the drum on, hey, we've got some Scottish pros doing well, and that is part of the appeal of GPs because they are open to everyone, and so you can envision yourself going in, playing, doing well, and you want to show off that accomplishment. People have in the past played at GPs where I'm going to play a niche or even comedy deck, and see how far I can go on this theme deck or something weird. And these are, you're already, I see you smiling there, and that's the sort of stuff that makes us, that's fun stuff. I love when there's a Reddit post at the top at like, look at how well this goofball did with, you know, some weird brew or whatever.
Nonsense,
when we hear stories about someone from Scotland doing well, there was the gentleman recently. It was a really wonderful article, or there was a Walk the Plains, I'll also link, about his performance. I thought it was so well done. Human interest stories, and so that's important stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So like that instance there. So Gary is known as the godfather of legacy in Scotland, as far as I understand it. Something that I didn't know about until we won the GP. But those narratives will struggle to come to the foreground now, even more so than ever, if we start to diminish and decrease the coverage that we already have. Which So one of the problems that some of the people are annoyed about is that we're getting to a point now that Wizards are saying, here are 32 of the best players in the world, and we're going to promote them as our esports personalities. Fine, that's fine. But then how else do you grab the limelight other than perhaps winning? Well, we'll come to that in a moment, because that doesn't carry the prestige that perhaps it once did. Apart from winning a GP, how do we get these up and coming stories about people who are top 8ing multiple GPs and things like that? Because that stuff, we'll get the standings at the end of the weekend, but there's just no hype and no positive buzz about that. There's no underdog stories, there's no up and coming stories. The narrative is being readjusted to focus pretty much on the top percent, pretty much on the 1%, to use, you know, terminology from other arguments, I guess.
Sure.
And people don't like that.
Yeah, and again, maybe something else is coming. We don't know. We're operating off of what we have seen, which admittedly is very little. But if the shift is just to those 32 players, and I mean, like, I think those 32 players deserve bright spotlights because they're some of the best in the world. But I do not think that should come at the cost of there being a spotlight on whoever wins a GP each weekend, whoever is performing well from various regions, things like that we've discussed. And in fact, even though maybe not the larger Magic the Gathering population may not know about all these niche cases, does not mean that they don't have value. In fact, we have seen in all forms of media and consumption that there's great strength in kind of the cult following, in the underdog following, and that sort of thing. And so, yes, maybe the broader playing audience is only going to be aware of those 32 players and not Gary from Scotland. But I would actually argue that Gary from Scotland is giving a lot to this game and to the community and to sales of Magic in otherwise hard to reach regions. And so I mean, think that from a business standpoint, only showing off the top 32 is not the best way to go.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess to move the timeline along a little bit, the conjecture that people got from this, so that it's quite face value. We know that written coverage is almost completely going, barring the summaries at the end of the weekend. What I started to read from that, my immediate reaction was I retweeted it and said, what about video coverage? Because we have no schedule for that whatsoever. And this is, you know, a place where we've got personalities that were on the backs of tokens literally only 6 months ago saying...
Not in the new set. I was just looking through. I was looking through my tokens.
So for some context, there's a token that said on the back of it, join us at twitch.tv/magic, and it had a picture of Rich Hagan, a picture of Maria Balfoldi, hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly.
You are.
Saying, with them smiling in sort of slightly ironic way, and it was like trying to promote them as personalities who would tell you about the game as we watch it. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, the coverage the coverage hasn't disappeared yet, but we have no understanding what's happening beyond Cleveland, which is in a month's time.
And according to Rich Hagan, neither do they. Go on, but according to Rich...
So to move the time along, what's happened now is that myself and many other people in the Magic sphere, especially on Twitter, that's where we can discuss the most, have all said, what is happening with video coverage? And then Wizards have not responded at all, except for Blake doing a quick interview with Hipsters of the Coast, which gave us... It shed almost no light apart from the trophy incident, which we'll come to in a moment. That's the bit we're going to come to next. But yeah, so now we are at the stage where we think that video coverage has gone. So my question to you, Brian, is do you think it's time for them to repeal video coverage of paper gameplay or anything below the Mythic level, and only show us Arena streaming pros and or the Mythic Championships. Is that where we should be at?
Because that's a huge. I feel that would be a huge mistake, and I think that's what everyone's afraid they're doing. Arena's doing very well. There's a lot of excitement over Arena. I want them to be showing us a competitive Magic on Arena, but that doesn't mean, again, I don't understand this premise of that comes at the cost of cutting paper coverage. Paper coverage is essential. And listen, everybody being so excited over Arena, and that's me too, I'm very excited over Arena. Let us remember, paper Magic the Gathering has been around for 25 years. Arena has been around for 6 months. Let's calm down with the paper is dead. We might as well cut all coverage of paper events and all of that. That is putting a heck of a lot of eggs in one basket.
In one basket that's still in beta as well. So
in one beta basket.
One of the arguments for why they might be doing this, and it makes sense in a way that I still think is stupid, but is that the £10 million prize pool for Mythic Championship plus the pros getting paid their contracts and stuff, that money hasn't been an increase in funding from Hasbro. It has been at the cost of cost cutting elsewhere, and one of those things might be shifting gear and personalities and coverage around in order to just that's one of the multiple places where they've been thrifty to redistribute where the money is spent, because otherwise, why would they do it? Why would they drop paper right now? Because there's an argument, again, in the future. Let's talk about devil's advocates here. I don't agree with this, but there's an argument that in the future, paper gameplay will go the way of the dinosaur because it just won't be practical anymore. Less people go to GPs, more people playing Arena or whatever. That isn't now, though.
Right.
We're getting record GP attendance in spite of what some certain personalities might say. We've got people selling out limited GPs. We've got more people coming to Magic than ever before thanks to Arena. And when they turn on their social media, Twitch, whether it be Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, they should be seeing Magic content, paper or otherwise, to incentivize them to be like, oh, this game is big, and I feel comfortable getting into this or spending some money on this because it's going to last. If they start seeing that coverage is being cut as the headline and trending thing,
right.
If they go on Twitter and see no paper gameplay, and they're like, well, what's the point going to a store then if paper isn't endorsed? At my pre-release, 2 different people told me they're playing in their first paper pre-release because they enjoyed Arena so much.
Right.
So there is value, and paper is still making the money. They're printing money. Look at the Mythic Edition, Brian.
Right.
They're printing money. But they're like, oh, you know what? Maybe we'll just. Well, what it looks like is that paper doesn't matter so much.
Right, or rather, once again, I feel this is a bad trend sometimes with Wizards of the Coast, which is we wish it were this way, and so let's just force it this way. We've seen this in other areas where, for example, they might hold what are some very questionable data gathering methods where they'll say, oh, it turns out people just weren't interested in this. We measured, we ran 2 different types of events, and everyone showed up to this one event and not the other, but they actually were very biased in how they put that forward, and so they're basing a decision on data that was gathered with extreme bias on their part just to be used as an excuse. And it's the same sort of thing where they wish that all we had to do, because how much easier is it, of course, to just be able to broadcast Arena gameplay than a paper GP. The logistics of putting on a paper GP and broadcasting that are monumental.
And we should respect that as part of the discussion. Because, Jeff Hoogland was saying this quite explicitly, and he had some very good points to make, that paper gameplay can be cumbersome, and the glare issues that we've had, especially with actual Wizards coverage, can be really bad.
Yes.
And limited, you need much more in-depth descriptions because people don't know what the new cards do, and so on and so on and so on. But we can see that 20,000 people tune in to watch the SCG Open or Invitational, whichever one it was this weekend.
Right.
People want to watch Paper Magic and will watch Paper Magic in spite of the fact that there are problems and issues logistically with presenting it.
Well, and I also, this is something that drives me crazy, which is the idea, like, for example, let us criticize that we're seeing glare off of card sleeves when we broadcast Paper Magic. Solution, stop broadcasting Paper Magic. No, the solution is figure out how to reduce the glare. Figure out where you're placing your, I do videos on card sleeves, and I make sure that there isn't glare on the cards cards when you watch one of my sleeve reviews. Yeah. And you know what that takes?
I filmed some paper gameplay recently, Brian. Do you know what we did?
Yeah,
we
moved
turned the overhead light off,
light.
and we moved a lamp over
Right.
here, and suddenly the cards were visible on the camera.
Funny
that's me in a living room with a mate with like limited resources and one DSLR.
Obviously, it's far more complex than that, but that doesn't mean that it is an insurmountable task. That means now here's the problem, put some money and hire some talent that are able to come in, like lighting experts and video experts that are able to say, oh, okay, well, here's what you need to do. Now, I also like the idea that's been proposed of what if at major GPs and such, when we cut to top 8, everybody goes and sits at a console station and top 8 gets moved to Arena. Now, modern and Legacy are not on Arena.
It's
right, but
this is my frustration. I've said this time and time again in my own videos, and I've said it quite a lot on Twitter. I feel like Legacy and Modern, and to a lesser extent Commander, get kind of ignored. Commander not so much, they are releasing products for it, but Legacy and Modern, they're mismanaging Modern, and Legacy doesn't get the love that it deserves because they've got problems that they won't try and fix.
Right.
Reserveless is a whole different ballgame, but they can't do that with the Arena function that you just said by putting a Legacy top 8 on that. So what they'll do is they'll only run 1 or 2 Legacy GPs a year, and they just won't do any coverage of it. So I'm so excited to see coverage of the GP Legacy if I wasn't going to be there, but whoa, if I can't see my favourite format get played by the best players in the world, that's just not going to happen, right?
Right.
And it's another way in which those old formats are being forgotten once again, and established enfranchised players who spent God knows how much money, time and effort in this game and in this community and in this sphere, and that's like, oh, you know what, we're going to favour whatever allows us to sell more packs to a casual player that might move on. Not that all casuals do, and not that casuals shouldn't be respected or anything, but there are people who will play Arena for 6 months, watch a bit of coverage, then move on. The franchise player's still there, getting more and more annoyed at Wizards just not telling. And that's the thing. It's not that I'm annoyed. I'm talking very personally. I'm just really happy about this. It's not that I'm annoyed about the decision being made. It's that we still don't know what the decision is. Right. And a stupid tweet was sent 3 days ago. And all we've got is, we can't give you all the information right now from Blake. So here's the thing then. Why have they not spoken out yet, Brian? My conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat time, is that they're outsourcing all the content to someone else. That's my tinfoil hat. And they can't tell us yet because they don't want to breach an NDA or whatever. Why are they not making a statement and telling their community they're obviously really annoyed what's going on?
So, in all honesty, I'm not one for tinfoil hat talk. I feel that it is often very counterproductive. I try and avoid tinfoil hat speculation. But one thing that I am certain of is that, with all respect to Wizards of the Coast individuals and staff, that Wizards of the Coast has a critical communication and public relations issue, which is that, in all honesty, as this event was blowing up on Twitter over the weekend and people were saying they can't comment on it because it's the weekend, I said, why not? Why is there not someone whose phone should be ringing and say, hey, we had a bit of a snafu and we accidentally tweeted out some information about the changes in coverage and people are getting upset. And people being upset is bad, even if it isn't the mass of casual players. You are having all of your enfranchised, connected, and the players that you are able to communicate with becoming upset, and there should be someone who is capable of giving proper answers and reassurances in real time on Twitter in this year 2000 and what are we at here now, 19? That should be capable. Pay someone or whatever, their phone rings, get on Twitter and say something that calms people down, because the biggest thing here is the unknown, is nobody knows what is going on. But everyone was saying we're going to wait till Monday. We're going to wait until Monday, and Monday morning we are going to wake up and we are going to see an announcement from Wizards of the Coast about changes to coverage, which will explain all of this and probably ultimately say things are going to be okay. Here's what's going on. And I saw everybody believed this. And so had faith. So the controversy and the panic hadn't really set in until Monday morning came, and silence. There is no comment. There is no response. hours rolled on, there did not appear to be anything. Blake spoke to hipsters of the coast, but as you said, it sounds like a very, like, I can't really say anything sort of comment.
Yeah, so his exact quote was, we know that, so they said, we know that causes anxiety and angst as people fill in the blanks. That's on us, not letting everyone have the information in one large chunk. We hope to have the full picture available soon.
Right, that is...
It's just confirming he can't tell us something.
What he needed to be doing, or I don't know the hierarchy. I'm not saying, oh, this is Blake. I'm just saying this is Wizards. Someone behind the scenes needed to be ringing people on the phone and saying, we need Monday morning this statement ready to go. And if legal says to you, it's going to be 2 weeks, you say to them, we are taking a huge public relations hit over this. We need this cleared up to go. We need something of some substance and reassurance to go on Monday, because otherwise people are getting upset, and then when it starts to trickle over where they made an announcement, they had a cool thing, which is the Mountain Goats were going to be performing some cuts off their new album at Wizards of the Coast HQ, broadcast on Twitch, and everybody was dunking on Wizards of the Coast and the Mountain Goats this announcement thread, and I want to be honest with you, just hear me out on this. I like the Mountain Goats. I actually really dig them. I really like the Mountain Goats, and I was unable to get excited about them because I was worried about GP coverage, and it's not the Mountain Goats, and it's not having them release this new album live on Twitch at Wizards HQ that everyone was upset about, but the fact that people's priorities were more on the GP and that it looked tone deaf on Wizards' part. Exactly. They needed to be able to put that message out there. Yes. I did too.
I felt genuinely bad for them, and I felt bad they announced their 5 streamers of the week that they're like highlighting Monday to Friday this week, and again the replies on Twitter are just like, what about the content for GPs? Because they're just, you can't just ignore the issue. You have to address community concerns, especially when they've got literally every prominent voice in the Magic community who make videos and basically advertise their product for free currently talking about this, and they're just like, well, we can't tell you right now. Like, Kenji, it just doesn't fly.
Kenji was dunking. Yes. Now, I just want to say, Kenji was dunking on Wizards of the Coast in that Mountain Goats thread, and Kenji was in the esports announcement commercial that they put out. That's how bad it is. And Kenji is the most nicest, mellow. Nobody dislikes Kenji. He is Mr. Nice. And so when Kenji is dunking on you, and he was even in the esports trailer, that's where you should go, uh-oh. Yeah. Like, this isn't the professor being snarky. That happens every week. Kenji? Oh, geez, that should get their attention.
There was some fantastic memes and jokes flying around. Perhaps you put like the Kenji one on screen now, for example, because it was just, it was fantastic. But that's the thing, they're putting a funny slant on something that's basically got everyone quite anxious, really anxious. I guess we could take this moment now just to clarify some of the rumor stuff that, like, so here's the news basically. GP New Jersey happened. There was no coverage, as we said. A picture was tweeted out. I first saw it on Evan Irwin's Twitter, showing 8 players drafting around a table whilst the rest of the GP hall was being taken down around them. And it just looked like a very sad state of affairs. It's compared to the ball pit at that TwitchCon. There's an image we can put on screen for you to see it. And this then became a running joke and started being hit up with memes as well. Right. And then what happened, to top it all off, is that the GP winner got to pose with a trophy. That when we zoomed on the picture was the trophy for last year's GP. It was a crop because there's no trophy there. Now, some people have then...
He is getting a trophy. They're mailing him a trophy.
That was the information that Blake gave us. Blake gave us that information in the Hipster article a little while after Channel Fireball Events had already clarified. But that was some new information that we got clarified, that he is getting a trophy. There's just a mailing or transport issue or something. Right. So GP winners still get trophies, guys and girls. Okay,
they get them in the mail. No. Hopefully, like this is something where might have been Channel Fireball made a boo boo, and it just looks bad on top of all of this. It just looks bad on top of all of this. But
that would have been a minor blip if it wasn't for the fact that we just had event coverage just dissolve and disappear overnight.
Right.
I say, no, actually, well, it's not overnight. We saw it coming because of the coverage schedules and things. And all of this on top of, I'm not sure if I mentioned this, all of this on top of the fact that we still don't know enough about organised play. We still have players that were bronze or even silver last year who still don't know what's happening with pro points and the leagues and stuff like that.
Well,
There's still
here's
people
why
don't know if
they
they'll ever
don't
be able to
know.
qualify.
Here's why they don't know. Now, I don't know this. This is okay. Allow the professor to put on his own tinfoil hat.
You said only 10 minutes ago that you don't like tinfoil hats, and now you've just got your tinfoil crown out to sit down.
All right, here's my tinfoil crown. The reason we don't know this information is because Wizards of the Coast doesn't know this information. The reasons why we don't know about the future schedules or how points work or how people are going to qualify for the next Mythic Championship or any of this information, the reason that they have not been forthcoming with this is that they themselves do not have the final details worked out, even though they are weeks away. Yes, this is the equivalent of the Fire Festival for the pro circuit of Magic the Gathering. They literally made big promises. They did the commercial before they had the plans. That's my tinfoil hat, and there's a room somewhere where there's a lot of crazy ideas up on the board, and they're trying to work it out, and they're like, all right, we got 3 weeks till Fire Festival. I'm sorry, 3 weeks until Mythic Championship. How are we qualifying? Where are the points coming from? Where are we doing this?
That can't be true,
No,
surely.
they don't know.
If that was
They did the commercial, and the commercial looks great. They got the Instagram models and everything. They got the They got Richard Garfield.
Really interesting to
they got Richard Garfield on Pablo Escobar's
They had
former
Sir
island.
Mix-a-Lot. I'm sure most people watching this have seen the advert, but if you haven't seen it, please go watch the advert.
And I like it. By the way, too, like, the advert, when it came out, a lot of people were kind of like laughing at. I really liked it. I thought every aspect of that ad was great. I thought it was what we need regularly. We need more ads like that. I really loved it. I've watched it for personal enjoyment.
I missed the old TV adverts.
Yeah.
Do you not miss those? Do you not miss the VHS they gave us in, was it 7th edition or 6th edition?
Right.
Or Portal, where you had a warg on the front, they like electrocuted a Minotaur to teach him how to play Burn.
I like that stuff. And I like a little bit of cheesy, I like a little bit of corny, and I like a little bit of joy, and I felt that it had all of those things in the right levels. But I feel that they made this ad when they had only the preliminary details sketched out, and I just don't understand why it wouldn't follow with information outlined clearly and available to players and pro players and casuals and enfranchised alike. So my tinfoil crown theory is they simply don't have it worked out. And the reason that they can't have a comment on Monday is that they don't fully know what's happening. They know they have cut writing. They know they have cut written coverage. They know that they are changing the way in which GPs are broadcast. They know that arena broadcasts are coming, but they don't quite have it all done yet, so they can't make promises.
Keep the crown on then, because this starts to add up.
I'll keep the crown on because I'm the king. You come at the king, you best not miss.
We should have got a board and we could have stuck notes and string on it.
Yeah, right.
That theory then. So did you find Maria and Hagen?
I did. Now, I just finished my booster box game for Ravnica Allegiance, and I was just sitting here with all my common bulks, and I was like, wait a minute, does Ravnica Allegiance still have the tokens that are showing off Jerry Thompson and Maria and Rich Hagen? And I haven't found Jerry Thompson. I think they're like, get Jerry Thompson's tokens out of there.
It's all Jerry Thompson's fault.
Right, but I do have, those of you who are listening, you don't see this, but I am showing that right here from Ravnica Allegiance on the back of a frog lizard token are the smiling faces of Maria and Rich. These are two of our broadcasters on coverage. Yeah. This is the pro in Pro Tour, which no longer exists, but the pro always stood for promotional. These are the people who we are investing in because they are a critical part of selling the game, because they are the people who people are listening to and watching and entertained by and going out and buying packs as a result of, directly or indirectly, and they don't even know if they have a job. According to Rich Hagen's tweet, who was very subtly but not so subtly indicating that they are adjuncts. Like I was an adjunct professor where I had to reapply for my job every 3 months because I didn't know if I would have classes waiting for me. Well, apparently this is how the coverage team is treated, which I could go off on a whole other rant about that as someone who's done the adjunct game, about the lack of respect that is to when you say to a person, I'm not going to let you know if you have a job in a month, and I'm going to always keep you in that position. You're saying I don't care about you or your future, and when these are the people selling the game, it's outrageous.
Very controversial.
Very, very. I'm very against it. I'm very upset.
That token being in that set. So why is that like that? There's one of two reasons, right? One, because it's advertising this coverage that we currently don't have and may not have. One is that this change. There's three reasons possibilities, right? One is this change isn't that much of a change, and we're going to find out. For some reason they can't tell us now. We're going to find out that things will resume as they did. That's the first option. Second option is that this change is really recent, like later than them putting those tokens into the print run of that set, right? So when does the set's go to print? Well, do we know? Is it months before?
We don't know, but it's much longer than that. Like the sets go to print very far in advance. Very far in advance.
Or third, and this is always an option, is just sheer incompetency at some level where someone just hasn't told someone else, or someone's
That's the one I vote for. That's the one I vote for.
No, I want to vote for the first one because I have faith that they're not going to drop paper competitive play coverage because they do still like paper cards. That's my hoping for the best outcome, because that would be the best outcome for me. But
yes, I just feel that what is likely going on is the left hand doesn't talk to the right hand doesn't act. I honestly think whoever made that tweet that started what is now literally an entire hour-long episode of Dies to Removal, and we're not the only ones. Like, I was literally sitting before we were recording this, I was saying this to you, like, I almost don't want to do it because everyone else has done articles on this, everyone else is doing their podcast on it, and so it's everyone's talking about it. And think about that in terms of this is not what you want happening when everybody is and nobody is praising you in this.
You've got
I
players,
am probably being the most moderate voice by saying I think it's sheer incompetence, and that's called the generous take on it out of all of these voices.
You've got your arena players, right? So kitchen table players back in the day may not net deck or look up new decks, right? But arena players, we're living in a world where you're going to look up stuff. Like Hearthstone players coming across to arena are going to Google like best arena decks or best Magic decks, right? Imagine they type those words in, and the first thing they see is like the current trending news that they're cutting back on coverage, and people are like, "Is this the death of paper Magic?" And this player's like, "Oh, this player's also thinking about going to their Sunday pre-release. There's ahead of this whatever's coming up next, or a draft their friends should come along to." It's like, actually, you know what? If paper's dying, nah, I'm good. I'll just stick to my arena, and maybe that's what someone somewhere at Hasbro wants, because it's easier to sell gambling loot boxes to kids on the internet.
Oh, yes, and also then we say, like, maybe stop.
Take that crown off, Brian.
Stop. It was a sold out event. They sold out the main event of a limited GP. That should be the story, not coverage in paper Magic is going down the toilet. And so
they've just sold
why would the company
$millions
wants to make money?
Why
would the company self-sabotage in such a way? It's again, I'm your friend, Wizards of the Coast, because while everyone else is crucifying you, I'm standing up for you and saying it's just massive incompetence. That is, I am your friend, standing up for you, saying it's just incompetence. They wouldn't knowingly shoot themselves in the foot. They accidentally shot themselves in the foot. Thank you very much, Professor. But that's what this is.
And
I believe all this comes down. The person should have never tweeted that. Let me do the job for Wizards of the Coast. Sorry, person who tweeted this, if I know you. And now you hate me. Well, join the line. But
they're probably aware that
they already hate me. All right, here's what should have happened. I've got no formal training. My degree is in creative bloody writing. All right. Here's what they should have done. Or ask me the question, Vince. Ask me the question that was asked of the Pro Tour. Pull that tweet back up and you're going to tweet it at me.
I'm with you.
Ask me the question. I'm going to tell you the answer.
Brian, is there text coverage or standings available for GP New Jersey this weekend?
We're currently in the middle of retooling, but don't worry, we will have standings coming by Sunday evening, and I think you're going to be pleased with what you see coming in the works in the future.
You're just trying to get another job at Wizards, aren't you, you shill? That's all this whole episode is just for you to get employed as their Magic Pro Twitter account. Is that right?
If Wizards of the Coast offered me a job, I would say no. Why would I say yes to that? I'd go back to being an adjunct where I'd have to reapply for it every 2 months, like Rich and Marshall and LS freaking V. Like seriously, you know,
6 months down the line, you'll have to tweet out. Someone will tweet you, and you'll tweet out going, "Sorry, we can't respond at the moment because we're reformatting our Twitter accounts, and there will be no twittering from here onwards." But to give like some,
that's what you reply. That's what you. But that you don't say. So listen, we're doing massive cuts. We're taking away everything you love, but we got no more information for you at this time. Enjoy the mountain goats.
But to give some weight to the other side of the scales, at the moment, we keep saying how incompetency and Wizards in the same sentence. There are people at Wizards and there are things going on at Wizards that are very good, and I think the Magic community should celebrate more often, because we often find ourselves ragging on what's gone badly, right? Like Standard is looking good right now. We're getting cards printed that are hitting Legacy and Modern and making things exciting. You know, there's so much good design work going on in Wizards. The problem is probably with their PR. Yep. And also, perhaps behind the scenes with some really messy legal work where they're like, oh, we can't tell the public this because X, Y, and Z. Like, you'd think they would have learnt from things like reserve lists contracts back in the day that perhaps they should fix that sort of stuff so they can communicate with their communities and serve them. But yeah, so
ultimately the reason, and I'd like to speak a little word of defense to the people in the community who are criticizing or dunking on or otherwise going after Wizards of the Coast in this incident as well as others. And what I want to say is this. In many ways, Wizards of the Coast, as much as this currently is a bit of a PR disaster, Wizards of the Coast should be happy that people are being critical of this mistake, because why are people being critical of the mistake? Is it that right? Is it that, is it that people hate Wizards of the Coast? Is it that people hate Magic the Gathering? No, we love Magic the Gathering and we want Wizards to succeed. We are happy to, it's at the top of Reddit when we saw that sign about the GP being sold out, and then Wizards goes and makes an error that damages this wider, listen to how much you in this very episode, Vince, were talking about this is a detrimental for people doing search results and Googling. You don't want that result. You want the result to be GP, limited GP sold out, Magic bigger than it's ever been, and Wizards accidentally was working against itself. People are angry, but they're angry because they care. People are going to mock the decisions and the mistakes, but they are doing so because it's coming from a place where they are frustrated that things were not handled better. And so as much as you might feel at war with your own creator base sometimes, the truth of the matter is, and your own player base sometimes, the truth of the matter is that you have an engaged, passionate group of people, and that the last thing you would want is for, if this tweet, which was an absolute disaster of a tweet over the weekend, and this response, which was an absolute disaster of a response over the weekend, the last thing that you would want would be nobody to care or respond to it and to have pure apathy, because that means your player base doesn't give a damn anymore and your game is dead. The game is alive. The game is got passionate people, and you just need to get your pardon me, but you need to get your stuff together over there and handle the situation better.
Yeah, I cannot agree more. Like, over the December Christmas period, I was buzzing as a Magic content creator and player and fan, because Magic was having its second renaissance. It was having Arena pushing out to all sorts of new players. I was going to my shops and pre-releases and events and seeing people come in who've not played Magic for 20 years or just come in fresh. And what Wizards should be doing is riding that wave to victory instead of potentially cutting back and pulling back on things that have in the past made the game succeed. You don't start pulling back now. Perhaps paper coverage needs to go in the future, but now is just not the time. It's the worst possible time to be doing it. Especially if that also then, on top of that, alienates your franchise players, because it's good to put in all these new players, but you got to keep the whales, as to use a marketing term, around who've spent tons of money on your product in the past. So ride the wave of positivity and upwards lifting of Magic, and don't start cutting coverage and removing the incentive to go to tournaments, because that's just a bizarre move when you've got a player base that's exploding in terms of size and popularity with the game. It just makes no sense to do that right now. As I've
said in the past about many things with Wizards, less isn't more. More is more. So all of this is happening. You don't announce cuts. You don't do that. It's if you need to reorganize it. Listen, I perfectly understand. Hey guys, we've got a team of on-site writers. We fly them out to all these GPs. They're writing up this play-by-play stuff. It's a lot of money that could be spent better elsewhere. I understand that you're going to reorganize and redirect that funding and that talent and that effort into a better use of resources. That's fine. But you don't just say, well, let's just cut them and we'll figure it out months down the line. And then if somebody tweets us about us, we'll say, yeah, things are getting cut. That isn't how you present changes. That isn't how you interact with the community. And that isn't how you manage your resources. If you're going to take away from the vault, then you have signature spellbooks ready to go, which they did. But signature spellbooks had fewer cards than from the vault, and they were not foil. So you replaced it with a product that offered less. Anyway, that's another rant, but that's what I mean. You need to give us more or present it to us as more. And the fact that even in my example tweet just then, you hype it up. You say big things are coming, good things are coming, not, guys, we're giving less, down, give me less.
I would also advocate some form of transparency. So if there is something that is tying hands,
right,
to the point that they can't tell the community what's going on, and it's going to leave people to froth into a fervor for 3... Because it's been 3 days, guys. It's been 3 days since the tweets went out. Then perhaps just say publicly, the reason we cannot comment is X. Like, I think...
Yeah, maybe, but I don't even that. I
maybe
feel
when
like...
they say that, it might look even worse. But at the moment, I'm thinking that I would prefer that because it puts my mind at rest, as opposed to sitting here thinking, oh God, they're cutting paper coverage and they're just going to ignore the fact. Kind of like the cardstock issue, right?
Right.
There was never ever an announcement about cardstock. Ever.
5 words. This is what I wanted. This is I demanded this of the cardstock, and we never got it. Still to this day, but I said all you need to do is say 5 words. We hear you. We care. That's all I said. I said that at the end of my cardstock video. I said, at the very least, what is freaking everyone out is they are afraid you don't even know this is going on, or you don't care this is going on. The same thing is happening now, and the same thing will happen again, and the same thing happened on the issue before cardstock, and this and that and the other, is that it's those 2 fears, and you just need 5 words to make them go away. We hear you, we care. And you don't need, and that's that. And the fact that they could not Monday morning have those 5 words come out is what astonishes me. There's no legal reason they couldn't say, hey, over the weekend we phrased a tweet wrong. We talked about some things we weren't ready to talk about. We're very sorry. We can't talk about it just yet due to legal reasons that we wish weren't there. It is coming, but we want you to know, if nothing else, this. We hear you. We care. And they might say, well, of course we care. I know they care. I know these guys. I've gone out to drinks with some of them. I had Gavin Verhey of
Here
Wizards
we go,
R&D
name dropping.
Sitting in this chair right across from me just a week ago. And I know that they care, but they need to say it to the millions of players and customers, because if you don't say it, it's like being in a relationship. You got to say it from time to time. Say it. And they just are very bad at communicating that truth. So it comes back to incompetence. Professor votes incompetence.
I would probably go down the same boat, and not for the whole of Wizards. Primarily just the organised play department and whoever's dealing with this PR disaster. Because they're the places where the fault lies right now. We need more information on organised play, including coverage, and we would like to know why you're just ignoring us and not trying to put these anxieties to bed whatsoever.
The fault, dear Kenobi, lies not in our organised play, but with our PR team. No, maybe not. All right.
No, it's just we don't know enough.
We don't know.
There's no information.
Right. Well, that's been a wonderful hour. That's been a wonderful hour of us talking about something we know nothing about. So that's, if you like that sort of content, 2 people talking for near an hour about something that we know nothing about.
Getting heated, shouting, putting tinfoil hats on, name dropping about Gavin Verhey. I hope you name drop about me to your other friends, Professor. That'll make me feel better.
But that's not name dropping.
Whoa!
It's not name dropping. People know who Gavin Verhey is. People were excited. When I said, Vince, when I said I was going to have Gavin on my channel, nobody said who? Like...
my mother would have said who. At least she cares, Brian.
Vince, if people want to check out your work,
yes,
where can they do so?
pleasantkenobi.com Oh, no, that's not true. I'll start again. YouTube.com/Pleasant Kenobi and Twitch.com/Pleasant Kenobi. I stream every single Monday night at 7 p.m. GMT. More regular streams coming soon. I release a lot of gameplay content. I do EDH, Commander, same thing. Legacy, Modern, a bit of Highlander, Australian Highlander.
I like Australian Highlander quite a lot. I haven't had a chance to watch that video. I'll link it in the description.
Yeah, it is sweet. I'm kind of thinking I might actually try and build a paper deck and get some people to play it. So
I actually feel Australian Highlander might be one of the best formats of Magic the Gathering there is, but that's another discussion. It's so people in my comment section are like, but Canadian's better, but they haven't said why yet. I think Australian is better than Canadian. I like Canadian too.
I think sideboards are important, but we can talk about that more next week, perhaps.
Right. And if you are watching us on the Tolarian Community College YouTube channel, be aware that we are on SoundCloud, iTunes, for your podcast pleasure. If you are listening to us on iTunes and SoundCloud, be aware that you can watch us on Tolarian Community College YouTube channel. And for both of those audiences, be aware that we have lovely Dies to Removal playmats available for purchase at the Tolarian Community College student store. And you can see a creature that is absolutely not a Tarmogoyf, that is legally distinct from a Tarmogoyf, being destroyed by a magic spell that is legally distinct from a Doomblade. This is not a Tarmogoyf.
Wizards of the Coast can't get their lawyers to allow them to release PR statements. They're not going to be able to get their lawyers to be able to sue you over a Tarmogoyf coin. Let's get real here.
And you can get that at the Tolarian Community College store. Thank you all for joining us this week, and we will see you anon.